Hi everyone. I wanted to do a couple of introductory videos for you because now that you're at home with your children, you're going to be teaching your children how to read and write. Lucky you. It's one of the coolest things in the whole wide world. So I wanted to give you some notes about what I do and why I do it and that sort of thing. So this is the introduction. And the introduction is that when it comes to teaching reading and writing, I do kind of two strands and I do them at the same time. I just don't do them at the same moment. So I have a bottom-up series called which is the literacy strand, and then a top-down, which is the literary strand. Now the literacy strand is going from part to whole. It's deductive, it's explicit instruction. So I start out with two things. One is phonemic awareness, the awareness that words are made up of sounds in a sequence. And I'm going to go into detail in the other videos with this. And then the other thing is the sounds of the letters. And in the beginning, I do the sounds of the lowercase because that's what we use when we read most of the time. From there, they start making words with a movable alphabet. And for those children who are ready, I've already sent this information out to some of the children. And once they know, once they can segment simple words, and then we move on to just the opposite of segmenting. We move on to blending sounds together. Man, instead of doing we're doing man, and that's learning how to decode. And for that, I have a series of workbooks which starts out really simple with short vowel sounds and then moves up to vowel digraphs, which are things like EE and AI, or final E words. And finally, with writing, I start out, as you've all seen, with our writing journals where we're learning how to do some basic writing strokes. And then we build up to learning how to write the lowercase letters. And pretty soon, they learn how to sound out words and start writing them, not necessarily spelling them. This typically comes much later with this age group because the fine motor isn't all that great. The literacy strand kind of starts with the whole and it moves down to the parts, so to speak. So it's inductive. And I start out by giving the big picture of literacy. I read them fiction, I read them science fiction, I do poetry and poems. And it's important, by the way, I want to make a note here to read nonfiction to your children. Your children are building up vocabulary and knowledge. And that vocabulary and knowledge is kind of like Velcro. Imagine reading an article about, let's say, ice hockey or space physics, and you can decode every word, but you don't understand what they're talking about. So you want to have them have broad knowledge and broad vocabulary. And with this, when they're doing, that's their literary reading experience. And then with composition, as opposed to penmanship, where we start from the part to the whole, with composition, we just kind of jump in. And we're doing things like writing lists. We're writing hink pinks, which is like a pink sink or a sweet beat. We write instructions, we write description, we write labeling, we write captions, we write narrations. We do a little bit of everything, and we don't care whether or not we've got all those little parts perfect. We just kind of jump in there and start experiencing it and encouraging it for the sake of encouraging it. Don't worry about spelling. So that's the brief introduction. And after this, I am going to do a video on phonemic awareness and letter sounds.